All right, so we now have kettle full. We have just a hair under 18 barrels in the kettle. We're close to a boil. We're at about 210 right now. In the meantime, we're draining the small amount of wort remaining in the mash tun, and then we're gonna start graining out. When we grain out, Maggie's gonna be on the bottom raking grain out, and then Josh is gonna be doing what we call just driving it, right? He's gonna be up top using the rake and also keeping an eye on the kettle during this early portion of the boil. We're draining wort out of the mash tun right now. Mag's gearing up here. We're getting all set to start graining this out. We're gonna be running a 90-minute boil on this. Amazing brew baby Josh is up there monitoring the kettle, and he's gonna be driving the grain for Mag as they grain this thing out. That first wedge, Mag, and then when we do drop the plow, make sure that it's turned enough to where it's dropping on top of the grain and doesn't swing all the way down to the bottom, because then it'll try to move too much grain and it'll put too much strain on that gearbox. And then I don't really like to turn that rake any faster than a speed of 2, again, to kind of tax it. As you get more grain out, sure. Maggie working, getting grain out of the tun. Mash tun, fun tun, tons of fun. Here's my favorite thing about Maggie. You're gonna think she's smiling right now because we're recording her, but actually she just smiles when she gets the grain out of the mash tun because it's so much fun. I'm not joking. That's how awesome she is. I'm gonna time elapse you. Okay, we are wrapping up grain out. Josh is rinsing from the top while maintaining an eye on the kettle. We are about 10-15 minutes into the boil. With this particular beer, we are not going to do any kettle hopping. And by kettle hopping, what I mean is I'm not going to be adding any bittering hops. Traditionally, a lot of beers will have hops that you boil for 60 minutes, which are a bittering addition, different things like that. The old school way to brew IPA is, 60-minute bittering addition, meaning that the hops get boiled for 60 minutes, and then maybe a 30-minute addition, 20-minute, 15-minute addition. That's the amount of time that those hops would get boiled for. Well, the newer approach is sliding as many of those hops to the whirlpool as possible. The whirlpool is the portion after the boil where I turn the heat off the kettle so it stops boiling. And in this case, we're going to cool down the kettle down to 170 degrees. And then we're going to start whirlpooling it, creating a slight vortex in the tank, and we're going to add hops there. So this beer only has a whirlpool addition. And it's just like the idea of when my grandmother was making marinara sauce, sometimes she would throw in a little fresh basil right at the end. The idea being that if you were to sit there and boil that basil in the sauce, the whole room would smell like basil, but the sauce not so much. This is the reason that we're adding these hops right at the end, the latest portion that we can, because we want to hold on to all those flavor and aromatic compounds. We don't want them boiling off and just flying up into the air. We want them staying in the beer. So we're going to boil for 90 minutes with no hop additions until the whirlpool.